What was the biggest bullet that you dodged? Years ago, I lived in Vancouver and loved going for long walks. It was a beautiful city for it. One day, I was heading to a friend's house to drop something off and decided to cut through a neighborhood with a large Southeast Asian immigrant community. I had noticed a van behind me, but it was midday, and there were people around, so I didn't give it much thought. As I approached a house where a woman was working in her garden, she started looking behind me. Then she stepped onto the sidewalk and began speaking to me in her native language. I didn't understand a word she said, but her body language was agitated. She kept gesturing for me to follow her up the walkway to her house. I glanced back and saw three men getting out of the van, now parked just behind me. By this point, the woman had a firm grip on my arm and was dragging me up toward her porch. She kept talking and pointing to things in her garden. I nodded and listened, all the while keeping an eye on the men and the van. I don't know how long we stayed like that, but eventually the men got back into the van and drove off. Both the woman and I let out huge sighs of relief. She patted my arm, said something I couldn't understand, and then returned to her gardening. I wasted no time and hurried to my friend's house. The next day, I saw a news report about a woman who had been kidnapped and assaulted. The victim had been grabbed on the next street over, not long after my encounter. The description of the men and the van matched the ones I had seen. That woman saved me from something unimaginable, and I will be